Let's move now to the courts, and the 4 police officers charged with the murder of Mthokozisi Ntumba have been acquitted today. Now, you'll remember that Ntumba was shot dead during student protests in Braamfontein here in Johannesburg in March last year. He was not part of those protests. In fact, he was simply leaving a doctor's office in the city. eNCA reporter Silindelo Masikane has been following the story. She joins us to give us a breakdown. So, Slee, why were these 4 police officers ultimately found not guilty of murder? Is it a lack of motive?
Instead, it's a lack of evidence, Sally, and that is what the judge was really stressing in his judgment today. We know that the state closed their case yesterday, and this opened the opportunity for the lawyers for the 4 police officers to then make an application in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act section 174, which is basically a discharge application where the defense then asked the court to review the state's evidence, and based on that review, then make a decision in terms of staying the prosecution and rather than acquitting the accused of the charges before them, because there's simply not enough evidence to convict. And that is exactly what happened. The judge had reviewed all of the evidence brought by the state in terms of witness statements, testimonies, evidence from experts, even police officers who were there that day and commanders as well. And he was really going through some of the issues that were raised in terms of simply the fact that nothing that the state had brought could actually link the accused to the crime. You cannot actually point out who of the 4 not only shot and killed Mthokozisi Ntumba, but you can't really even assess their involvement in terms of that particular murder. But let's take a listen to what the judge had to say.
These proceedings, there is no direct evidence in the form of eyewitness or witnesses. I mean to say that there is no person to say he or she saw the accused persons or any of them committing the offenses in question. The state's case is premised from circumstantial evidence, being the video footage in the main.
Oh, I would imagine that the officers are extremely relieved. I know you spoke to one of them. Let's take a quick listen.
Imagine they're saying you've murdered somebody, been called a murder. It's not an easy thing. And as a police officer, I've never done that. It was the first time that happened, yes. But for my family, at least it will be a relief now for them.
On the other hand, of course, Ntumba's family, who lost a breadwinner, a dearly loved father, they must be quite devastated because there don't seem to be many answers. What have they said?
Yeah, disappointed, shocked. You know, for them, they're just now asking themselves what the way forward really is going to be. But in the main, Sally, they are quite disappointed with the judgment. Let's take a listen to Mthokozisi's brother.
So like I'm shocked now because if it captain yabo boni yashuthi yibo mus ababe khona abadubula so angazi ukuthi inkantolo ifuna ini.
So, Slee, tell us exactly what he was saying, but also if there's another step for the family to try and perhaps sue for damages, what's the next step for them?
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to see happening. What he was saying in that clip, Sally, was really that he was of the view that the state had presented evidence in terms of the commanders who had come to identify the accused as having been on the scene. He's asking himself, what more then did the court want in terms of evidence? Saying he doesn't understand what the court means when they say there isn't any sufficient evidence to prosecute or convict the acquitted police officers. But moving forward, I think we're going to see a lot of consultations within the family in terms of possible litigation in terms of suing the police force for that that particular death. But also, I think for the state itself, we know that they will be studying the judgment. The possibility of an appeal has not been ruled out at this point, but we await, of course, to see whether those consultations will result in the possibility of an appeal, and then we'll wait to see whether the Ndumba family will make a decision to possibly sue.
Thank you so much. eNCA reporter Silindelo Masikane.